You're looking at the video for the new single called Head on a Stick. It is from the forthcoming album, Consequences Coming. It'll be out April 27th. As we continue the Our City Tonight spotlight on musicians, artists, singer-songwriters from around the globe. We're joined by a guy who's been making music for close to 50 years. And again, another great album out. Glen Matlock joins us from London. Glen, hi from Canada.
Good evening, guys and girls. How you doing? All right?
Doing well, sir. Thanks for joining us.
Great to have you on. We're going to jump right in. And this new album was created during a really tough time, during COVID. Tell us what that journey was like.
Yeah, well, it started off just before COVID and then got a little bit sidetracked because of COVID and lockdown. But that was kind of a good thing in a way, because I'd written the vast majority of the songs prior to that and then recorded them just before that, and then I revisited them and I kind of thought, well, I got something here, but maybe I can add to it somehow. And I wrote a couple of new songs in the lockdown period, one being Head on a Stick, which you've just played, thank you, and the last song on the album called This Ship. And when I did that, I thought, and then I went into a different studio and I thought, actually, the singing's a bit better. So I re-sung the whole album and then got it mixed by a mate of mine in New York who worked on my last album. Really good engineer, a guy called Mario McNulty, who I met through El Slick, who plays on my album, and introduced me to him because he'd worked with him on Bowie's last album, you know, the Black Star album. And it all kind of came together.
One of the thread lines I find with your career over the last 45, 50 years is that you seem to come in, play with people, make some great music, or they come to you, you make these great super groups. Mentioning some of the people like Ronnie Wood and Mitch Ure, and you play with Blondie.
And Iggy Pop.
Talk about how this thread line has played through, because you really have just been parts of great supergroups over the last 40 years.
Well, okay, two things. I don't, although they're people of note, and I feel privileged that they kind of invite me to go and play with them, or if I invite them, they say yes and come. But they're kind of friends, you know. It's like Clam's a mate, El Slick's a mate, and musicians tend to muck in with each other. And for every record that comes out that's successful, there's thousands upon thousands of people in different combinations of things trying out ideas. They're having a go and normally doing it just for a laugh, and they've got nothing better to do. And some of them come out and they're a hit, and some of them don't, and they're just sort of in a cupboard somewhere on old cassette tapes and things. But, you know, musicians like to give it a go. In lockdown, there was, in England, I suppose in Canada and other places as well, you know, the medical staff were really hard pressed and at it, and a few people had ideas to do like charity records for them to try and raise some money, and I got involved with a few of those at home. But with people that I knew of but never really met. But one thing, Clem played drums on in LA, and I put some bass on over here, and El played on one in upstate New York in his little home studio, and then Marcello Detroit did something in San Francisco, and then Tony Hadley did something in London. None of us ever met, and it was kind of quite an interesting way of working.
You made your first name as the bass guitarist in the original Sex Pistols lineup there. Now, clearly there was definitely a musical seismic shift when you guys came on the scene. Can you talk a little bit about that? We would be remiss if we didn't talk about that original.
Well, we don't when you ended up remiss, my love, so we'd get better. It was just a bunch of kids came together. There was nothing that appealed to them that was going on musically at the time or kind of culturally. We had things going for ourselves, but not what we really wanted to do. We all met under the auspices of Malcolm McLaren, had a teddy bear shop down the King's Road with his girlfriend Vivian Westwood. And on a Saturday afternoon, it was where every oddball and weirdo and ne'er-do-well passed through its doors for something better to do. It was a total antithesis of everything that was supposedly going on in London at the time. But it became what was going on in London at the time. Nearly everybody who passed through its doors went on to do something. Susie came in. He became Sue from the Banshees. There was a guy who used to come in, William Brawl, but that was Billy Idol. There was photographers, there was people that did artwork, fashion designers, Adamant. It's quite a happening place, and I feel privileged to have been part of that. It was quite a happening period.
Amazing.
Yeah. And the music and talent that followed you guys afterward in the late 70s into the 80s, as you mentioned a bunch of the bands there. Glenn, we want to just go out and remind people again. I mean, you talk about the Sex Pistols 45 years ago, and here you are with a new album out, your 7th solo album, out on April 27th, called Consequences Coming. The single, again, we're looking at it, Head on a Stick. Glenn, it's been a great pleasure as we continue our series on musicians from around the world. What a great body of work, and I would recommend to our viewers, go check out all his albums, including the one I love, Good to Go, from 2018. Glenn, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Such a pleasure.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.